This is an old sculpture that I did, and it's just a hand sculpture. It was kind of like throwaway clay, and this is terracotta. It's red clay, as you can tell. It's a hand holding up a ball, and I've done several of these. I usually tend to do them, but I figure I wanted to try this out. I got it at Home Depot. It's called Deco Art Extreme Sheen Metallic Paint, and it's a bronze. So I figure I'm going to try and put this on here. Now this brush, it's one of these throwaway brushes that you can get from Home Depot. It's $1. And this was surprisingly cheap. It was about $2. What I'm going to do is I am going to paint this with the brush and see how it turns out. There's different ways of finishing sculptures. For example, I have a plaster cast sculpture here of a bird that I did, and I spray painted with a black paint, and it's a white. As you can tell, this is plaster, so I spray painted it, and I think it looks pretty good. And you might want to put some sort of finish on it, but I'm kind of like just working on it a little. And just going to put it, because a lot of times these metallic paints have particles, and they usually just go to the bottom. So right now, yeah, see that? I'm putting it in, and the metallic doesn't really come up. So make sure you shake it. There we go. And there's the metallic paint. Oh, I don't like it. It looks very tacky. So this is a problem with a lot of this kind of like cheap metallic paint. It looks, this is like something that Trump would put in his house. It's so funny, like you see it right away. This is why I did this on a sculpture that I don't really particularly like care to damage, because it's just a kind of throwaway piece for me. But it's very gold instead of bronze, but maybe it changes. Now the cool thing about doing these is that you basically learn what to do in a sculpture. So if you had something really fantastic that you did, you could get this and basically go like, oh, this is way too tacky. As I'm doing this, I am thinking that, yeah, it is a little tacky, getting it on there. When you cheap out, that's what happens. So let me go ahead and just keep moving it around. Make sure you get like on the inside, on the underside of the ball, for example. Just kind of go around. The Home Depot did have quite a these versions of colors, but I don't think this is worth it for a sculptor. This is more a decorative, something that you would put on a cheesy house or something. I don't think we should be concerned ourselves too much with this, but to make it look like it doesn't look so much like a bronze plastic thing, you could put some sort of like black on top or shoe polish to knock down the color, because this is quite cheesy. Okay. The reason I picked these brushes is that you can throw them away afterwards. There's no sense in keeping these. So what I have here, guys, is a plaster cast, and it's seen better days, but I think I'm going to paint this gold as well. I'm just going to, and this is plaster. I've done a lot of these copies of the dead bird sculptures. So I just squeezed the boatload of the bronze onto here, and we're just going to paint it. So plaster is going to be a little bit more difficult. And the plaster definitely died a little bit, or broke as I was like taking it out of the mold. I'm not that good at mold making yet, so I have to learn. And polyurethane is definitely the way to go about it. When I first did these, I did them in latex. That's not the way you want to go. You want to go silicone or polyurethane. And I'm starting to see that silicone is definitely the way to go about it. Latex for very thin things, masks, and they are quite good at holding detail, but the problem is when you make a mold, it's very difficult. All right, so I'm just gonna, this is gonna be gold, okay. Kind of dab it like this. I think it gets really into the crevices and it removes a lot of the brush strokes. We're going to use quite a bit of this paint for the plaster. The plaster kind of sinks in a lot. So the interesting thing that you want to try and do is create the texture that you have in your originals, but you do that afterwards. I like to get the sides a little bit done. See, it's just like I even clean my brush this way on it. And I'm going to use a little bit more of the paint. All right, and that is the bird all bronzed out. I'm going to put this drying, and then we are going to basically just put something else on top. So this is an example of a terracotta, a red clay piece that I did. You can watch the sculpture video down below. It's the kneeling female sculpture, and it came out, didn't crack, nothing happened. The only really bad thing is that this part lifted up a bit, but that's not that big of an issue. It is pretty solid, and so for this one, the reason I am going to not paint it is because I kind of like the red, and there's different ways of going about it. The way I think I'm going to approach it is just mixing some linseed oil with some wax and just putting it over, and that's going to seal it, and it's also going to give it a little bit more brilliance. You could also take a clear coat like you would do for a car and just kind of put it on it, and you can do that even afterwards, but I think I'm going to do that with this one. I just need to get the wax, the right wax, which is a beeswax. All right, guys, thanks for watching. I will see you in the next video.